Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second last day of the fifth Lonavala International Film Festival of India. And I have with me today two very unusual guests because we are showing today a very, very unusual film. One of the jewels uh, of Plus Channel, which was a channel that was set up by Mr. Amit Khanna to give support to small cinema, was a film called Papa Kehte Hain. I saw it at the Metro in the matinee in 1996 in May. And I must tell you that I was struck by the film. It was a film that I did not think got the due that it required. And that is why I chose to play it at this festival so that all of you can get a chance to see this little jewel of a film. The film was produced by Amit Khanna at Plus Channel. And Plus Channel, Plus Movies, did a whole bunch of films. They did Israt Ki Subah Nahi by Sudhir Mishra. They did Bhairavi by Aruna Raje. They did Lalach by Raj Sippi. They did a whole bunch of films which should have got much more than the films did. But this one was a personal favorite. Not only was it directed by my friend Mahesh Bhatt, who went to Seychelles and shot the film, but it also starred Jugal Hansraj, who was in school with my brother, and I've seen him growing up right from even before Masoom. And it's my privilege that I have Jugal with me here today. Jugal, hi, and good evening, and good morning to you because Jugal is in New York. And
Hi Vivek, thank you so much for the kind words. And yes, I did have a great experience with the film, and thank you for showcasing this film and saying that it was undervalued at the time of its release. I have a lot of fond memories, and as he just said, that Vivek and I go back a long way, and it's just great to be here. And thank you for having me.
And as you all know, I'm also the Dean of the School of Contemporary Media at Pearl. And I have with me here a colleague, the head of department of the School of New Age Business, uh, Neeraj Paul. And while Neeraj and we were talking actually, and we were talking about this film during Diwali, turns out that he had actually worked on the costumes of Papa Kehte Hain way back in 1996. Not only Papa Kehte Hain, he had also worked on the costumes for Aruna Raji on Bhairavi, which was another Plus Channel film. So I said, I didn't know this, and you must talk because I have Jugal with me, and I would love to have someone who was in front of the camera and someone who was behind the camera. But I'll go backwards to the movie. Currently, Jugal is in New York and he's busy writing his second book. Yes, he's an author. So, first, Jugal, can we talk about this aspect of what you're doing? You're in New York, you're an author, you write books, and then we'll go backwards to your acting career, right to Masoom, and then we'll come back to Papa Kehte. This way, everyone will get this well rounded picture. And I'll do the same, Neeraj sir, with you, because today you're the head of department of a whole school, and you were doing costumes then. And I know, so it's been very checkered careers for all of us today.
Yeah, yeah.
And Jugal, over to you,
Yeah, thanks, Vivek. Yes, so my, as you mentioned, my second novel is actually has been acquired by HarperCollins India, and will be released in April in the coming year in 2021. It's called The Coward and the Sword. It's aimed at middle graders and young adults, fiction. So it's a proper novel for younger readers. My first novel, in fact, released in 2017. It was for even younger children from about 6 to 10. That, in fact, came about very interestingly. As I had made an animation film for Yashraj and Walt Disney which released back in 2008, Roadside Romeo. And I was to make a second film for that joint venture. And I wrote out a script, which was approved by the producers at Yashraj as well as the team at Disney in LA. And it was a story which then I wrote out as a screenplay. And that joint venture broke up and that film never got made. So in around 2016, I was going through my pen drive and seeing all the stuff I had, and I realized I had this screenplay, and I was feeling sad that it's wasted. It's not going to be made as a film, and I thought, why not try and rewrite it in the format of a novel for kids? And I said, I have nothing to lose. I'll try it out. I tried it out and sent it across, and a big publishing house in India, liked it and decided to, publish it. It got good reviews. And then when my second son was born, it gave me some kind of inspiration to write out my second novel when my son was born, as well as I've been studying Nichiren Buddhism. So there was one quote which I read from this Japanese monk in the 13th century Japan, which really inspired me. That one line gave birth to this 50,000 word novel. So, and besides that, I was doing other stuff. I was anchoring a TV show and stuff, and had a couple of acting projects lined up here in New York. But 2020 has put paid to all those projects for now. Hopefully, they're revived in 2021.
They'll revive. But yes, you even look like a New Yorker now with the hair and the pink complexion. And Neeraj sir, you are the head of department for the School of New Age Business at Pearl.
Yeah.
You have schools in 4 campuses: Jaipur, Bombay, Bangalore, and Delhi, and in 2 campuses in Delhi. And you're heading that. So you are not just an academician and a teacher, but you're actually a head of department. From where did designing costumes for these films happen into becoming the head of department of all these things? So you have to tell us your journey, because that's fascinating.
Okay, thank you so much, first of all, Vivek, for having me here, and I'm extremely excited to see Jugal. Uh, One thing I want to tell you, Jugal, I was just, I think, 18-year-old that time, and I was just out of my college in design. And when I got this job at Plus Channel, so me and Vinita Singh, there was this another costume designer. We both were doing costumes for you, Mayuri, and Anupam, and almost all the cast of Plus Channel used to give us all. We were doing it all together. And whenever I used to go and attend the college, the girls used to say, "Please take us for shooting. We just want to meet Jugal." So the kind of Jugal was a heartthrob. He still is. That time, so I just wanted to mention. That time I didn't mention you 24 years back, but then I take this opportunity. So those ladies, wherever they are, if they are watching us, because I'm still in touch with them, many of them, they'll be very happy. Well, Vivek, that was the first job in Plus Channel, and I was assisting in the costume that time. And Papa Kehte has been a very, very special film in my heart, and that's what my LinkedIn also says today. That was my first movie which I did. Harvey and this we were doing together at the same point in time. But Papa Kehte Hain released first, so that was the first released movie. So I kept on doing costume for quite some time. I did a lot of music videos, because 90s was a time when a lot of new music videos had come. So, but yes, later on, I wanted to get into commercial. So I got into merchandising and branding, and which took me abroad. And I worked internationally for quite some time into fashion with different brands, especially into visual merchandising, which is window display. And then later on I came back and started giving lectures, and that's how the journey actually started. I went to Pune and I wanted to take admission in PhD into fashion forecasting and consumer behavior, which I did over there in Pune. And I joined a college over there, started teaching, and that's how everything started happening. So it's been 13 years that I have been into academics now. And in Pearl Academy, it's been 6 years that I have been in Pearl Academy, and handling this school called School of Creative Business, wherein we have a lot of courses on fashion merchandising, branding, luxury brands, and digital marketing, data analytics for creative industry.
शर्मिंदा हो गया, because आप 13 years से academician हैं, ये 2 किताबें लिख चुका है, और मैं छोटा सा अभी तक 1 साल नहीं हुआ है पर्ल में.
Hello, please, no, don't be so humble now.
It's actually very humbling. But let me actually go forward and tell you all, before I start talking to Jugal about Papa Kehte Hain, that there is this very, very visionary man called Amit Khanna. And Amit was one of the 2 pillars of Navketan. And Navketan was Devsa, Devanand, Vijayanand, and Chetan Anand's banner. The 3 brothers had set up Navketan. It was founded by the eldest brother, Chetananda. And there were 2 pillars of Navketan. One was a man called Amit Khanna. One was a man called Yash Johar, who was Karan Johar's father. And these 2 were the line producers, or the executive producers, who made the wheels at Navketan go round and round and round. And Yash ji, of course, was a pillar. I mean, Dev Anand calls him up and says, "Yash, we have to shoot Hare Rama Hare Krishna in Kathmandu tomorrow, because there's an embargo on stars signing movies, and Mumtaz has already signed 12 movies." He actually stopped an Air India plane. offered a free trip and a free weekend at the Sun and Sand to those 11 passengers who would get off, and put his unit and sent them off to Kathmandu. He was that kind of a man. Of course, he went on to becoming a very big producer. Moving on, he became a lyric writer. And he then became a writer. And then he produced and directed a film called Manpasand, starring Devanand and Tina Munim. When Dev Saab launched Tina, it was Amit who mentored her, guided her, was the father figure. And then as he moved on, he set up Plus Channel. And in Plus Channel, he produced India's first English serial, Mouthful of Sky. And then he made a whole bunch of movies, as I told you. One of them was Papa Kehte. And then he moved on because when Anil Ambani got interested in setting up entertainment, Tina remembered her mentor. And she took on Amit Khanna to becoming the chairman of Reliance Entertainment. So this is a very, very visionary man, and we've all been lucky. Amit has, Jugal has been lucky to work with him. I have been very, very lucky to be on a whole bunch of conferences and webinars with Amit. We are close friends. And we are actually within the parameter of what we're doing. We've chosen Papa Kehte. So hats off to you, Amit Khanna. And if you're hearing this or watching this, God bless you. Jugal, you have had the privilege of being directed by Mahesh Bhatt, Shekhar Kapoor, Subhash Ghai, Hukumat, Anil Sharma, yes, and a whole bunch of other very, 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 very heavyweight directors. But I want to now go back to Masoom because I have worked with Shekhar. In fact, my first film as a producer starred Shekhar Kapoor and Ashutosh Gavarikar, both of them Oscar-nominated chefs. And I remember Shekhar as being very soft-spoken, very warm, coaxing things out. And the very fact that he worked with you in Masoom and then went ahead to Mr. India with 15 kids shows that he's very good with kids. So first, I want to take you from Masoom and then briefly into Aag Gale Lag Ja, which was your first film as an adult, and then into Papa Kehte, which I think is one of your best performances and a very, very fine movie. So how was it working with Shekhar?
Oh, it was absolutely brilliant. I was very young at that time, but because Masoom was done in one chunk of like 50 or 55 days, I have some vivid memories about the film. And Shekhar, of course, I remember the first time I met him when he came home with his corduroy pants and a white shirt, and he had a green Sony audio cassette where he had the song Tujhse Naraz Nahi recorded. And he obviously came to meet my parents to talk about the film. They were very impressed by him. He's a very well-spoken man. And, he was a chartered accountant, educated person, and he was making a very interesting film based on this kid. I, of course, had some qualms. And when I was told the story that, I thought, this kid is crying all the time. All my friends in Campion will call me a crybaby. So I don't want to be part of this. But really hats off to him. It was him he was so convinced that this kid should be in the film, and we became best friends. He would come, and I would spend time with him, and I started liking him a lot. But the turning point for me was when he took me to the recording of Huzur Is Qadar at in Tardev, I think, Film Center.
Famous.
If I'm not mistaken. Famous. Where R.D. Burman was, yeah. So there I met R.D. Burman, who was just a gem of a person, and he was so friendly. And, I met all the musicians, and I felt this, movie making sounds like fun. I had done some TV commercials before that, and that's how I came on board. But hats off to him, because we were three kids. I was around 9. Urmila was around the same age. I think Aradhana was younger. To handle us required a lot of patience. And I was very naughty. I can speak for myself. I was quite a troublemaker, and anything but Masoom. And then I got to know later on he went on to make Mr. India with even more kids. So, in fact, I think he had thought of me for that film. But by the time he actually got started on it, I was a bit too old. I started, almost into teens. So he named one of the characters Jugal in that film, though.
Yes.
So I couldn't be in it because I had outgrown that age that he wanted.
But one of that film was Aftab Shivdasani.
Yes, he was there. Ahmad Khan, who's a choreographer.
Ahmad Khan was there.
Yeah.
It's quite. But
a lot of good memories of working with Shekhar, and I remember the way he never he basically he spoke to everyone in their own level. If he's speaking to Nasiruddin Shah and Shabana, he was obviously talking in their level when he spoke to us. Basically, he made sure that everyone understood where he's coming from, what he wants, and very patient, very loving. He would almost like drop off all the work if one of the kids called him for some inane stupid thing like we kids normally do. But he was always there. I think it's a great learning experience for me when I turned director many years later.
And jumping straight to Mahesh Bhatt and Papa Kehte Hain, was it the same? Was Bhatt Saab gentle, warm, happy?
Extremely gentle, of course. As you know, he's also very eccentric.
Yes.
He's very fun, and but great with actors. I think he gives more importance to performances rather than where the camera is or what lens he's using, and all the visual razzmatazz that a lot of directors get swayed by. His focus was always on the actor and the performance. I think that's one always felt safe that Mahesh Bhatt is right behind the camera, when we are doing a shot, and I felt looked after that. If there's something not good, he'll make sure that we do one more, or he'll take care. So that was a very comforting feeling for an actor, when he's in front of the camera.
I
Great
remember
experience.
a friend of mine called Saeed Mirza. Aziz Mirza's brother, and Aziz directed Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman for me. And one day he called me and said, "See this picture." And it was a girl. And I said, "Who is this?" So he shouts, he said, "This is Kango." I said, "What is a Kango?" He said, "This is Kango. And this is the girl who's playing my Naseem." I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yes, I'm going to cast Chetan Anand. And this girl, and Naseem's about an old man and a young girl. Uh, Chetan Saab didn't do the film, actually. Cafe Azmi did it, coincidentally. I think that was a better choice. But I remember Mayuri Kango from then. And then the next I heard is that she was doing Masoom with you. How was it to work with her and Anupam and Navni? And I mean, you had quite a gang of people there.
Yeah, in fact, about Mayuri, I have a very interesting story that we had the film was ready, but there was no girl, and Bhatt Saab hadn't like really found what he wanted for the girl, and then he heard, I think, through Saeed Mirza that
Suicide.
this film was there, Naseem, and he was busy at that time. He was doing a lot of films, if you remember. So he called me one day and said, in his inimitable, "Dafar, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm at home." He's saying, "Just, close to your house, there's this editing room of Saeed Mirza. Go there, watch this girl, tell me what you think. Because I don't have time to watch. I'm relying on your judgment." So he sent me to the editing room, and I said, "She's a very good actress and she's the right age." And so I gave him my opinion. And then I think next thing I know, she was in the film, and we began filming. So it was just it was fun. And yeah, so with that was with Mayuri was very she was very young at the time. I think she was 18. I was around 24 or something, but a very mature head. I remember sometimes like she would talk a lot about politics and what's going on in the news, and I was initially taken aback because the other 18-year-old girls I knew or was friends with didn't have this kind of scope, in what they read and stuff. And of course, there was Anupam Kher, great actor. I'm still in touch with him. In fact, when he's in New York, I meet up with him every now and then.
He
I
comes
did several.
quite often to New York, I think, Anupam Saab. He has his own house now in New York.
Yes, he has a house here, and he's part of a very popular and successful show called New Amsterdam. He's playing one of the principal characters as a doctor. Dr. Kapoor is his
Unseen.
character. So he's filming here pretty often. I just, in fact,
Oh,
met him last month when he had dropped. He had come here for a little while. So he's great. I, in fact, first worked with him in Karma in 1986. And then, of course, Papa Kehte Hain, then Mohabbatein. And then I got to direct him he played Uday's father in Pyar Impossible. Very cute role and very gracious of him to do that. It wasn't a very long role, but it was a few scenes, but he added so much weight and, as he normally does to any part. And of course, been very friendly with him over the years, meeting at Yash Chopraji's house for brunches and stuff like that.
yes, he and
But
Yashji very close to one another, and that brunch is
very close.
he spoke
Very
of.
close. But Anupam, in spite of being such a senior, successful actor, he wears a success very lightly. I think that's something I've learned from him. And he's very young. Like we call him AK. Like I don't call him Anupam G or Sir or something. He doesn't like it. He likes, He's very unassuming, and I got to learn a lot with him. In fact, during Papa Kehte Hain, I was even less experienced, and I did observe him a lot, and I had quite a few scenes with him. Very big learning experience for me. The way he, he improvises on the spot also sometimes. So you have to keep on your toes with him. You have to know your lines backwards, and then be prepared when you're working with an actor of his caliber. But that was great. The rest of the cast, of course, Navni Pariyar went on to. I played her son in one film for Rajshrees in 2002, which was produced by Raj Babu and Surajji. So I did get to work with her again. Very dignified lady, and
Very big.
a very very nice lady. And so it was a great cast. There was, of course, Satyadev Dubeji, who was kind of mentoring the script, and us, Mayuri and myself as well. I even did some theater workshops with him prior to the film. I still use what I learned from Dubeji whenever I act. These two teachers of mine, Barry John and Dubeji, I did short stints with them, but whenever I'm acting, I still go back to their, acting exercises or their tips and tricks about facing the camera. So yeah, a lot of good people I worked with, and of course the music. Rajesh Roshan, I attended some
Rajesh Roshan,
recording
outstanding
sessions as well.
song.
Outstanding. I mean, Rajesh Roshan's music I always admired even before I did. He's given some legendary songs, and to actually go to the recording studio. And I remember Mahesh Bhatt called me to the studio and said, "You must come for the song and go and sit and watch Udit Narayan's expressions when he sings. I want you to really sing when you're singing. I don't want you to mime it." So I got so excited, Vivek, after listening to that particular song in the recording studio, that a few months later, when we actually began filming and then we went to Seychelles, I kept waiting for this song. I used to bug everyone, when is this song happening? What day are we starting? On the day, I remember I was so excited. I didn't sleep all night. And we were in these little villas in this resort. I actually went and knocked the doors of Bhatt Saab, and I think there was Johnny Bakshi, who was the EP on the film. The DP, I think I forget Rajesh, forget his full name, but I
Rajesh,
went and knocked. Yes, yes, Vivek would know. So I knocked on all the doors and said, come on, let's go. We got to go for a shooting. We got to do this song." So I, in fact, dragged everyone out a little earlier to get in the bus and go to location.
but Neeraj sir, you all did the costumes, but you all didn't go to Seychelles. You all just sent the costumes to Seychelles. So how was it working? Because I do know one thing about Amit Khanna and Plus Channel. There were no budgets. Nobody had money. Everything had to be scrounged to make films in very limited budgets. And Amit was a master at that, even at Navketan. So he was expecting all of you, I know, to work with no money. I mean, costumes free, music, Rajesh ji, manage. Everyone had to manage. I'm surprised you all didn't walk to Seychelles, but that's another story altogether. How did you get in? You know,
Yeah, so it was
how did you do all the
it was
costumes with
it
virtually no
was
budget?
fun, Vivek, I would say, because it was everything was so new. In fact, Plus itself was very new at that point
Plus
in
was
time.
new
So it was a lot of things were we were doing on trial and error. So we had sponsors like Kachans, Madhavs, and you know those all stores in Bandra. So we had picked up a lot of ready bakes for Jugal. I mean Jugal, if you remember that. So, but then yes, the time given was extremely less. We had to spend more time on Mayuri's costumes, and I really agree with what Jugal just mentioned, that she was extremely intellectual at that point in time for her age, because she, whenever we used to go for trials for her, we were used to be in so much of hurry, but then she was busy talking about sports and politics. So I can really relate to that, Jugal, what you're telling. And she will be okay with everything, and so was Jugal. I mean, they were absolutely no tantrums at all. It was so friendly, and whatever was given to them, they were. Uh, I mean, they happily took it, and they were absolutely. We had a smooth sailing when it comes to when it came to costumes, right from for all the characters. There were, I mean, over around 20 characters.
Yes,
Even
I think Tiku Talsania was also in the film.
Tiku was also there. Tiku Talsania was there. There was a lot of others. Even Johnny Bakshi Saab also did a cameo in that.
Johnny Saab
So,
was a very close friend. I must tell you a small anecdote. When I met him, he was shouting on the phone. He was saying, "Brando, something, something, Brando." So I said, "Who's Brando?" He said, "It's my son." I said, "You have a son called Brando?" He said, I also have a son called Kennedy, and I also have a son called Bradman. So the three Bakshi boys were Brando, Kennedy, and Bradman. And it is a great regret that I announce here that Johnny Saab died earlier this year, a few months ago. And Madhavji, sorry, I didn't even introduce you in the beginning like I normally do, because we started so fast in a rush. Madhavji is our festival director. Madhavji, how are we doing on time?
So I think in our chatter, we have actually lost track of time. It's been
So,
so engrossing. We have
are there any
overshot our.
questions for them, or
Yeah,
can
so I wouldn't come to the questions, but there is one thing which I would specifically like to point out. I think Jugalji has got a lot of fan following, despite being away from India. I've got a specific comment here which says Jugalji is still looking so smart. It,
Thank you.
so I think that is a comment which I must read out. I think also we mentioned that he's now looking like a New Yorker, but the cost of repetition, yes, Jugalji, you do have a good fan following here. And we'll have to skip the questions, Vivek, because we're already at 6:32. Yeah, so
But I must just say, Jugal, that ever since we started, and we were very apprehensive, Madhavji and me both, about taking a festival online. And taking a festival online with the very limited content available because of piracy, etc. But from the first time we started with a tribute to Mr. NNCP, the first few films, viewership audiences have been growing from screening to screening to screening. Audiences are very, very encouraging. They're enjoying hearing these little things about the film, which makes them want to see the film, which is why we're doing this before the screening, not after the screening. And as Madhavji has said, we are already running out of time. So thank you, Jugal. Thanks you for being here. Thank you, Neeraj sir, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madhav.
thank you so much. And we look
Thank
forward.
you thank you for having me here, for inviting me here, Vivek and Madhavji and Neeraj, and lovely to be a part of this, to walk down memory lane, and always available whenever needed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it was really nice meeting you all over again, Jugal. Thank you so much.
Same here. Same here.
And now it's over to Mahesh Bhatt's Papa Kehte Hain, starring Jugal Hansraj, Mayuri Kango, and Anupam Kher.